bride to bring into the marriage as back then, and what we give the groom and what the families give. I mean, nowadays there are different. Every community has different traditions, but I mean, there are families that will commit to pay for the first year of, they'll make an agreement to help pay for the first year of the family to get settled, the new family. Maybe they want the husband to study Torah, so he won't be making a lot of money like that, or but a lot of these laws we don't really have it nowadays as much. So they're a little bit difficult and confusing, but we'll go for it a little bit. It's a long chapter. Um, and then the Rambam continues with more laws about marriage. Okay, the nechasim, the property which the lady brings into marriage, whether it's fields, slaves, any type of object, even though they are written in the ksuba. It's written that she has in the ksuba. They're not the ketubah. They are called the nidunya. Nidunya means is always translated as a dowry. Now, we always have these famous stories, which was real. Like, people would get married only if there was a good dowry for the groom. And that was like you have all these Jewish stories of the dowry not coming through or whatever it is. Okay. And if he takes the responsibility for the dowry, and it becomes his, if it goes down in value, it goes down for him. If it goes up in value, it goes up for him. This is called tzoin barzel. Tzoin barzel literally means sheep, iron sheep. If he doesn't take the responsibility of the dowry, he lets them stay in her domain. If they go down in value, up in value, this is called nichse maloig. So nichse maloig, basically, they stay in her property. So in barzel, they go into his property. So, okay, everything that a lady has that her husband, that the lady brings in, which they didn't put and they didn't write in the ksuba, they remain for her, or she inherits them after she's engaged. If they're given to her gift, these are called nichse malug. These are all in her rishos. They're all in her domain. And the ksuba is the 100 or 200 with the additional amount of money that he adds to it alone. We already know that the rabbis were the ones who set up the prices of the ketubah, and the laws of the extras in the ketubah are like the main part. And it's not a document that you can always redeem. It's only redeemed at a certain time after he dies or if they get divorced. And also they said if the husband has good fields and bad fields and medium fields and she wants to take her ketubah, she gets from the worst fields. And this is called the ziburis. Now, again, the worst fields are same value. She's getting the same monetary value out of it. Just she might say, hey, I want that orchard, smaller orchard than bigger piece of land. Some of the rabbis said is if she goes to redeem it after he dies, she should not do it until she swears that she doesn't have anything from him, and she didn't sell it, and she didn't forgive it. And then they go and they estimate the value, and then they give her from the ksuba. However, if she now there's if there is, and so now there is a shibud. Now a shibud means there's a lien, right? She has a lien. Okay. However, if she divorces, they do it without. Okay, they do it without swearing, and we don't have to estimate how much her clothing are on because. So we don't have to do those things if she gets them besides the ketubah. The rabbis also made a rule that a widow should first start getting from the field, and she doesn't get from the prophet after he died, right. So it might take some time to do the paperwork or to get around to it. So she gets from the field and not from the shevach, not from the going up in value since the husband died. And daughters do not get after their father dies from the prophet after he died, and they don't get from the ksuba from the additional value that the buyer got, even though the Baal Chayiv, someone who is owed money, he can get from the extra money. And these are from the leniences were easier on a kasuba. And then also, if a lady is taking from money, and so let's say she gets married in one place and divorced in another place. If there's money in the place of the where she got married is better than the place she got divorced, you give it from the place of divorced. And if the place of divorce is better, you can give for the place of the nisuin. When do we say this? When it just says money. But if it says a specific type of coin, then that specific coin is what comes to her. The Gaonim said in all the yeshivas that a lady should get from after. So really, she's supposed to get from the field or whatever they specify. The Gaonim, they said, I guess people didn't have fields as much. They said she can also take from other property, which is like movable property, just like a Baal Chov, and this is spread amongst all the Jewish people. Just like a regular lender, a borrower has to pay back from whatever property he has. Similarly, other conditions, there's all the ksuba, and they're not only defined as fields, they also are as property, but they're as real estate, but they also can take from other property, except for ksubas benin dichrin. This is I'm not sure exactly, the kasuba of male sons. I'm not sure exactly what that is. That we don't find a custom of the inheritance in all the yeshivas. But therefore I say, you go follow the Talmud, that he only gets from, it's a male son who inherited his mother's ketubah. So he inherited his mother's ketubah, so he only gets, in that case, he only gets from fields. Can't take it from anything else. And then also, in all places that I know of, we write the ketubah, whether from fields or metaltalim, and this is a really good thing, and smart people made this. And so it comes out she can get from, she doesn't need the rabbi, the Gaonim's new takana, where they said that she gets from, that she could get from movable objects in addition to fields. She could just, it's already pre-written in the ketubah, so it takes away any confusion. Let's say they didn't write this in the ketubah, they married. If they know of the Takanas al Gainim that they said she can get from, so now he doesn't have any real estate, so she can get from whatever else he has. And if they don't know about it, or they're in doubt, they okay. Now this is when the Gaonim made these takanas. They didn't always spread everywhere. They weren't in every city and everything like that. So if they know about it, if they didn't know about it when they made the kasuba, then they do it. But if not, you have a problem. The rabbis of the Talmud said it's only from fields, from real estate. And the Gaonim say it's from other things. But they didn't know about that. So so that is a difficult situation because there's no power in the Gaonim to deal with this, even though they didn't say in the Ksuba, which is Takanas Sanhedrin Gadol, until they take it from the children who inherited. Also, so basically, the Rambam would seem to be very skeptical of following Takanas Gaonim because in the time of the Gaonim there was no Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin said it's only from fields. That's how they set up the ketubah. The Gaonim, I guess they saw that Jews aren't living in Israel. Not everyone has fields. It used to be like everyone had a house. Even like now in America, people always talk about how a certain generation was never able to buy a house. So the Gaonim said you can get from other objects. Now the thing is if they wrote the ketubah, so the Rambam says the best thing to do is to write whether it can be inclusive and documented in the ketubah. But let's say they didn't know about it, so that caused a problem. Okay. So now, also the rabbi said that everything the husband owns is guaranteed in the ketubah. It guarantees the ketubah. Therefore, even if the ketubah is for $100 and he has a field which is 1,000 gold coins, everything is under the lien. And anything that is sold after that married, even though the sale is a sale, and he could sell whenever he wants, they could take it from the ketubah. And if they don't find b'nei chayrin. So basically, it's like when a lady has a ketubah, it's like a pre-documented that everything the husband owns from that time is worthy of paying the ketubah.
So all of his assets are in the ketubah?
Yeah, or yeah, to that amount of money. Now, so what happens is like, obviously, if she takes for something that he sold, someone will take it from, she'll take it from someone else, and that person will go back to him, right? And she'll say, hey, he'll say, hey, you sold this to me, but now, likely, there's an order. Well, we'll see. Um, there's an order, right? Only the last things that he sold in his life, and then you'd have to work backwards. When the Beis Din sells, they make them swear, either the children or the lady, when she's getting it, that she didn't forgive it, etc., etc. They do it outside of the Beis Din because in the Beis Din they would stop her from swearing because they'd be worried for her that she wouldn't say it properly. And so they do want the lady to swear in this case. In most cases, when we want people to swear, we don't necessarily want them to swear, and they might say, I'd rather not swear than deal with this financial thing. But in this case here, it's more than likely that she has rights to the ketubah, more than likely she has rights to the money. Okay, and if the Yisomim want to swear, if the orphans want to swear, they can swear, and they can do it in Beis Din, and afterward take the ketubah. So only her, they make her swear outside of the Beis Din. If she dies before she swears, the Yorshim don't get the ketubah because she doesn't get a ketubah until she swears. And if she's married before she swears, if she gets married to someone else before she swears, this is swearing after marriage, and she can take it whenever she can take it whenever she wants. However, she cannot. One second. Let me read that again. If she gets remarried to another person before she swears, she can swear after the marriage and take it as long as she wants. However, she can't swear and take it right away, I guess. Now, if she swears something, the husband can go and annul her vow.
So this oath, that's what's referred to in the previous paragraph?
Yeah.
What is she swearing to?
She swears that the ketubah is still alive. She didn't forgive it. She didn't sell it to somebody else. She didn't get benefit from it. Okay. If the ketubah says that a specific field there's a lien on a specific field, so that's the specific thing she gets. And she can do it without swearing. Similarly, if it says metaltalin and they exist, she takes for those things without swearing. And similarly, if it's not specified, then she needs to swear, but make an oath. But if something is specified, she doesn't need to make an oath. And similarly, if it is sold and taken from other things, and she knows that these are the second things bought from the first, she takes those things without swearing. Okay, let's say.
So, just to interrupt. In today's society, we have joint tenancy. We have common property between.
So halachically, it belongs to her husband. If the husband wants, he can agree to let it belong to her, but he doesn't have to, right?
Okay.
But he just has to take care of her fully. That's the trade-in that she has.
So he gets her earnings, but he's obligated to provide for her.
Yeah, we spoke about it earlier. If she could say, hey, I'll keep my earnings and don't provide for me. And she can say that. And they can make deals like that. Yeah, I mean, society now is much different. A lot more women are in the workforce, as well as, women spend differently. The society views us quite differently nowadays.
Yeah, it's interesting though that
Also, ketubah nowadays. Nowadays, likely a husband will have to pay child support and alimony and all the different things, when then he had just to pay the ketubah. But there are cases nowadays where, technically speaking, the husband only has to pay the ketubah, and that's it, like halachically. So.
okay.
But on the other hand, nowadays, women, get a job after the divorce or whatever it is.
Yeah,
They
but
usually do.
it's interesting that 1,000 years ago, or
Until
longer ago,
yeah.
the women had rights when they went into marriage. If they were Jewish women had rights specified by these laws.
Yeah.
But in other cultures, maybe not so much.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean the ketubah, the rabbis put the ketubah essentially because they didn't want to be free to divorce. They didn't want it to be a free thing to divorce. In other words, you divorce and she has to go and figure out life, and you don't have to figure out life. Let's stop here. It gets complicated. They didn't have the rabbis wanted that the husband should think a few times before he's divorcing. He's going to be doing certain things to his assets, and it turned out to be very successful actually. That a lot of husbands did not get divorced as a result of their financial weaknesses. So yeah, the women's rights in those times. These are what the rabbis decided for those times. So there are other things that the rabbis decide for this times. A lot of times you'll have in one of these aguna cases, you'll have like a lady who will, page 57, 56, yeah, 56, 57. Okay. Okay. Sorry, 50. We're actually on 58. Okay, 58. So, the rabbis did what was proper in those times, and so nowadays, actually, they always have. Commonly, they'll have a guy who, they'll convince him to divorce, and they'll say, okay, and we don't have like government powers, to enforce a divorce or enforce anything for that matter. It's his choice to follow religious laws, and and therefore, a lot of times people simply don't worry about the money. But the ketubah is a significant amount of money, or according to some opinions, a significant amount of money. And often, if the divorce is, done on good terms, the husband will pay much more than the ketubah, because he understands. He married somebody and he was working and they weren't working or whatever it is. He was the breadwinner and therefore he has to take care of them. Okay. So we finished off, and we said all this discussion about chatzos. We said a few different. We had a dispute between Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva. One of them was we said you should eat it in haste. So they said in the time of haste. So we said, well, one rabbi says the time of haste is the haste of the Egyptians, and one rabbi says the time of haste is the haste of the Jewish people. So one rabbi says you can eat until morning, and the haste of the Egyptians is midnight. Then we started getting into different discussion. We said that God tells Moses, please tell the Jewish people to go and empty out the riches from Egypt. Right?
Right.
And he says, why? And this is the top of 58. Because I promised Abraham that his grandchildren would leave Israel with a tremendous amount of possessions. And I don't want that promise to not happen. Right? So, Amrulai. The school of Rabbi Yana continues. Ulavai shenetze batmenu. The Jewish people said, it's okay, we don't need to take anything out. We just need to get out of Israel. We just need to get out of Egypt. That's what the people of Israel said. Right? Mashal Adam shayachavish beisasurim v'hayoyim v'lei b'nei Adam metzines chalamachrim beisasurim v'nes l'chamam l'har v'oyim l'hem v'vakash mikam v'stenayim v'einim v'akash klum. This is just like a person who's in prison, and they say, wait until tomorrow and we'll give you a lot of money. And he says, no money necessary, let me come out today. So same thing with the Jewish people. The Jewish people, they weren't necessarily interested, but God said, you have to make sure they take out possessions, because I promised that to Abraham, their forefather, that when they go into Egypt, they will go out b'rechush gadol. Then it continues, Vayash ilum. It says, Vayash ilum, and they gave them as they requested. It means, this teaches us, Vayashilum is an interesting thing. They gave them, it's an interesting word. They gave them what they requested against their will. There is a dispute regarding this. Some say, Vayashilum means it was like given by force. Some say it was against the will of the Egyptians. The Jews came in, they forced Egyptians to give them their riches. And some say it was against the will of Israel. The one who says it was by force of the Egyptians, as it was written, she who tarries at home divides the spoils. That which the woman in the verse requested from her counterpart was actually spoils taken against the will of the enemy. The other one said it was against the will of Israel. They didn't want the vessels because they said it's too heavy, too heavy. Now, probably wasn't just heavy. It was probably heavy on them. In other words, they want to run out of Israel, and now they have to go find wagons and all sorts of different things to carry out all this gold and silver. So the verse continues, and they emptied out Egypt. They made it like Egypt, like a trap in which there is no grain that serves bait to attract birds. They made it like abyss in the sea without fish. So Moses says, what's your name? God's name. He says, I will be what I will be. What is he saying there? So here's what the Gemara says. He says, tell them I am with them in Egypt, and I will be with them in all the other exiles as well.
I learned this Rashi yesterday.
So this is a famous saying. Moses said, it's enough for them to endure. Let the future suffering be endured at this point now. Now that they're suffering, let them do all the exiles now, all the suffering they need to do. The Holy One, blessed be you. So he said, let the future sufferings be endured at this appointed time. There's no need to mention the future enslavements. So the Holy One, blessed be, he agreed with Moses and said, go and tell them, the children of Israel, that I has sent me to you. So, I will be, amazing.
Is that correct? I will be.
Means I will be, I will be, my name, has sent you. Yeah. Right, so it should be really, I will be should be in quotations. I will be is a noun. Aneni Hashem Aneni. Having explained the use of the double language of I will be what I will be, the Gemara proceeds and says a double language by Elijah on Har Carmel. So the famous story of Elijah on Mount Carmel with the idols of Baal, where he goes and all the Jewish people are serving idolatry at that time, right? All the Jews are serving idolatry. And what does he do? He goes and he does this whole showdown. You familiar with the story? He basically says, you guys do a sacrifice and I'll do a sacrifice, and wherever fire comes down from heaven, and there's a whole drama, it's a whole dramatic scene. So Moses, he's there, Elijah the prophet's there, he's setting up this whole possibility of Kiddush Hashem. So what does he say? He says, Aneni Hashem Aneni. Answer me, Lord, answer me, that this people will know that you are the Lord God, and you have turned their hearts backwards. Amar Rav Yabo, Lama Amar Elio Aneni Shtei Pamim. Why does Elijah the prophet say, answer me twice? Why did they just say it once? This teaches us that he's saying to God, Rabbeinu Shalom Aneni, answer me, Sheteir Eish Ben Hashamayim. Fire should come down from heaven, but and it should devour, consume everything on my altar. Ma'aneni, and answer me, answer me that the Jewish people should realize this is from God and this is not witchcraft. So Elijah the prophet was conscious that Jewish people, the first thing they would say is, okay, this is witchcraft. So what? Elijah's a better magician than the prophets of Baal. So he said, God, answer me, first of all, make the miracle happen, and second of all, make it that the Jewish people realize that it's not witchcraft. So that is the end of this section of the Gemara. Now we're at the Mishnah, a new Mishnah, start a new Mishnah. Let me just see something. Okay.
Oh, it took a whole year just to do a whole Mishnah?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the new Mishnah. Okay. Okay, so this is the next Mishnah. It says, when do you read the Shema in the morning? New subject. So that one was, when is, 1 second.
How are you going to finish this in 3 years if you're only learning one paragraph at a time?
Why don't you finish in 3 years?
One Mishnah at a
Please
time.
don't disturb your steering.
I have to learn like 57 years.
When does one say the Shema in the evening?
1 second, give me 1 second.
Maybe it's 7 years already, but then it's going to take like 57 years.
One second. So let's start. My masek heard Shema ba'ar v'shachris. When do we read the Shema in the morning? Mishiyakir bein tcheles lelavan. So this is a term mishiyakir. It's a halachic term nowadays when you can distinguish between the blue sky tcheles and white.
Some people say about gold or such.
Rabbi Elazar bein tcheles lakarti.
Was there sufficient light to do that?
Yeah. So, you could go outside and you see, if you're up in the morning and you're outdoors, you see there's a certain time when you can start recognizing colors. So, Rabbi Elazar ben Tcheles Lakarti. Rabbi Elazar says between sky blue and leek green. Right? So white and sky blue versus blue and green. But Goimra Adonai Techama. And you could say Shema, you must finish saying Shema until the end of the period when you rise, right? The Torah says Uvkumecha, when you rise. When is that? That is sunrise. Everybody gets up before sunrise and is up by sunrise, right? So you have to finish before sunrise. That's the first opinion in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yeshua says Ad Shali Shais. Rabbi Yeshua says you can say Shema until 3 hours of the day. Shekein derech malachim lamoid b'shalish shais. Kings get up 3 hours of the day, and therefore kings get up. It says kings here. Anyway. Kings get up at 3 hours, and therefore the rule is you could say it until 3 hours. Hakardi mekan ve'elch. Let's say you missed those 3 hours. If you should still say it, mekan ve'elch lehifsid. You don't lose out by saying it. Ka'adam akari v'Torah. He's like a man who is reading in the Torah, right? So you wake up, you say Shema. You can say Shema after Mishi Yakir. That's the time of waking up, is when you start being able to see between either Techelis Lelavan, white and blue, or green and blue, the color of leeks and blue. And you say it until sunrise, until Netzach Hama. Rabbi Yeshua says, time of kings, until the time kings get up, which is 3 hours in, and you from then on, if you didn't say it, you should still say it because you don't lose out, but you're not doing the mitzvah. You're reading, but it's just like reading in the Torah. Okay, my bein tcheles lavan. Now the Gemara is going to ask, what is the difference between sky blue and white referring to? What does that mean? Tcheles lavan. Now, simply it's the colors, but what specific version of the colors? If you're saying that means distinguishing between a pile of white wool and a pile of sky blue wool, wouldn't one know the difference at night? So rather, it must be in reference to ritual fringes. Rather, it's talking about your tzitzis. Tzitzis traditionally have one blue string or two blue strings, and when you look at your tzitzis, you're looking at the strings. Tanya Rabbi Meir says, Mishiakar ben Ze'ev l'chalev, when one can distinguish between a wolf and a dog. Rabbi Kiva ben Chamor la'arid. Rabbi Kiva says between a donkey and a wild donkey. And Acherim, so Acherim is actually a rabbi. It means literally Acherim means others, but Rabbi Meir is often called Rabbi Acherim. it's kind of a punishment because he was friends with. There was a rabbi who became an apostate who was one of the biggest rabbis. So his name was Acher. So Rav Meir, he still would study with him. He felt like, okay, he's still a Torah scholar, even if he's an apostate. So they called him Acherim. Rav Meir, they called Acherim. So Acherim says, when one sees another person who is merely an acquaintance from a distance of 4 cubits and recognizes him. Rav Huna says, halacha ka'acherim. Huna says the halacha is like acherim. The law is like him. So when you know somebody is an acquaintance, so at a certain time you don't recognize them when they're 6 feet away. You won't recognize them. You'll see a person's there, but you won't recognize them. As soon as you're able to recognize them, that is the time when you say Shema. Abaye was another famous later rabbi. So he said, "L'tefillin l'kacherim." The time that you put on tefillin in the morning is like acherim. It's the time when you could see someone else. L'kriya shma. For kriya shma, it's the customs. It's the custom of the vasikin. What is the vasikin? The Amar Rav Yechon vasikin hayu goyim reisem netzachama. They would finish the Shema, conclude the recitation of Shema with sunrise. So Vasikin means people who are extra careful and scrupulous. What would Vasikin do? So they'd put on their tefillin as soon as they could see someone else, and Mishei Akir, and then they would say Shema right before sunrise. That's the best time to say Shema. So the best time to say Shema is a minute before sunrise. Tanya Namihachi Vasikin hayu goyim
They would already have their tefillin on.
So you could put your tefillin on like Acherim, the opinion of Rav Meir, at the time when you recognize your friend. That's a bit earlier, maybe half hour earlier, 10 minutes earlier. Then the Shema has to be done when the Shema has to be done, or the best time for Shema is at sunrise.
But
I just want to say there are thousands of Jews who do this tradition. They wake up very early and they put their tefillin on the exact moment. It's on, not on our calendar, but it's on like the Chabad.org times when the first time they put tefillin on, and then they'll say Shema exactly at that time of Vasikin. That time is actually called Vasikin. It's right before sunrise.
this Shema is not the Shema during
This is the morning Shema.
davening.
It could be during davening and before. In fact, the law is you have to say Shema at a certain time, and if sometimes prayers are later than that time. So you're supposed to say Shema in the morning before prayers in that case.
Because we say nighttime Shema.
Nighttime Shema, and then